Wholesome Joe. Welcome to my channel. This is a 3D printed painting tutorial featuring the Ghostbusters terror dog, aka Zool. This video is best viewed while wearing headphones. Enjoy. First, you must print the terror dog on a 3D printer. I am using an Ender 3 Pro FDM printer, and I'm also using Inland Orange PLA Plus filament for this particular project. Once the print has finished, you must then remove it from the bed. I have a magnetic bed, so it is relatively easy to remove the print. All I need to do is flex the bed just a bit and the print will pop right off. Next, I need to remove the supports. And the supports can be tricky to remove sometimes, so you need to be careful when doing so, or you can damage parts of the model. In this particular case, I did get a little bit overzealous with the removal of the supports and ended up snapping one of the legs off on this terror dog. Now I have removed all of the supports and I have a finished model. If you notice, the terror dog's missing leg has already been reattached. I used some super glue in order to do this, as it is the best type of glue to use on PLA prints. As you can see here, I have reattached the foot with a super glue. You can see a seam. However, it is easy to repair using a Dremel tool, as you will see momentarily. You can use the Dremel tool to smooth out the seam in order to hide where I have repaired the foot of the terror dog. Here I am using my very inexpensive Dremel tool that I got from Harbor Freight with a somewhat of a sanding drum. I am not entirely sure what type of tool this is. Moving on. Next, you will want to prime the model. I am using 2-in-1 Rust-Oleum filler and sandable primer. You can pick this up at any Walmart or home improvement store. You can also use automotive filler primer or just automotive primer in general, and those will do just as well. I just happen to have filler primer and I like how it hides the print lines. I usually do 2 or 3 coats until I can no longer see the bright colored orange filament underneath. Now, once the print has been primed, you will need to gather some brushes. I have a few brushes here. They are not anything special. They are just brushes. And you will also need some other tools as well. These are just brushes I picked up from a local dollar store. I do not believe they are any sort of special brush. I'm also using the cheapest paint possible. I picked this up from Walmart. It is Apple Barrel brand acrylic paint and can be purchased for the low price of 50 cents per bottle. I'm using several different colors of black, browns, grays, as well as a red color. I will try to flash the colors onto the screen. You will also need a cup of water and paper towels in order to clean your brush. Now, I'm going to start with a solid coat of black as I squirt the paint onto my very professional paint palette, which is a frozen pizza box, because I was hungry last night before I started making this video. You can use whatever you have handy. I'm going to first start with a brush, and I'm going to apply a liberal layer of black paint over the entire surface of the Terror Dog model that I have printed. There is no particular technique for this. We are just creating a base layer in order to paint the rest of the details onto the model. You can use a bigger brush than what I have chosen to use here, but whatever you do, you can be as sloppy and as careless as you possibly can, as it does not matter as long as the Terror Dog is painted solid black. This will allow us to apply lighter colors over this base layer to create a three-dimensional effect on the Terror Dog. Next, I'm using a color called Pavement. This will be the second base coat which I will paint over the black layer. Pavement is a sort of bluish gray color which I thought matched very well to the skin tone of the Terror Dog seen in the original Ghostbusters film. You will use the same technique to completely cover the Terror Dog head to toe in this pavement paint. If you miss a spot, that's okay, because we can go back and fix it later. So don't worry if you miss a spot or two. It is sort of difficult to see sometimes, but we can fix it later. It's totally fine. Next, once that layer has dried, I will start adding details. I'm using more apple barrel paint, a light gray color, and a lighter brown, and a darker gray. These are the colors I will use to create the detail lines on Vince Clortho or Dana Barrett, or whichever of those two characters you've chosen your Terror Dog to be. I've also squirted a small section of pavement in case I screw up and need to fix my mistake. It is easy to paint over your mistakes using this very cheap and inexpensive acrylic paint. Sometimes I do not know how to talk, and I am very sorry. Now we will start to paint, and it is always good to have a reference photo so that you have a good idea of what you are going for. In this case, I want to recreate the look of the Terror Dog as it had in the Ghostbusters film, which was a very dark, grimy, grayish, green, brown color. And I am going to try to recreate this here. I am not a professional painter by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I am probably one of the worst painters that has ever painted. But I will do my best. If I can do this, so can you. Now you will notice that I'm adding streaks of gray and brown, and I'm mixing those together and creating the shadows and the shades and getting into the creases of the neck of the Terror Dog in order to recreate the shadows of the wrinkles, because Terror Dogs are very wrinkly creatures, and we must paint it in such a way that we can see all the glorious wrinkles in the Terror Dog. Now, you can use whatever color combination you'd like, but this is the one I'm using because I just chose these colors at random with absolutely no thought process. I am using browns blacks and grays to give him a slightly grungy look. If I happen to mess up, which I will probably do, I can just go back over it with some more pavement and fix it right up. You can keep doing this until you get something that looks good to you. I will continue to keep painting until I've reached a point in which I am happy with how the terror dog looks. Just a little gray right there, a little more gray, and then a little bit of black just to smooth it out. As you can see, the shadows are starting to form on the neck. You don't have to worry too much about anything. You just paint, and everything will fall into place. That kind of looks like tiger stripes, but I'm not going to leave it as tiger stripes. I'm going to apply some brown, and I'm going to mix it together, and I'm going to smooth it out so that it blends in to the skin of the terror dog. This is not the first time I have painted a terror dog. I printed a terror dog before. It was much smaller than this one. I painted it, and unfortunately, my dog ate the terror dog. So I decided to print another one. This one is much larger, and I decided it would be a good idea to show you the process of which I painted the terror dog. This particular part of the painting process can take some time to complete, but if you are patient and you are patient, then you will be able to finish painting the terror dog in no time. Take your time and don't worry too much about trying to make it look perfect, because let's face it, the terror dogs are not attractive creatures. Here I am again applying more layers of gray. It may take several passes before you get to the final result of which you are happy with. Now I'm applying a few more touch-ups before we move to the next step in the painting process. Now that we have the body painted, it is time to move on to the horns and the toenails. I am using more cheap craft paint. This time I've chosen the color ivory, as it, I feel, is a good base coat for the horns. I'm also using an extremely tiny brush for this process, as I do not want to get paint on the body of the terror dog. If you go slow and take your time, this should be relatively easy. Just paint each of the horns one at a time. I like to start from the top and then work my way to the bottom. And then I'll turn the model over so I can get to the other side and do exactly the same thing. Paint another layer of ivory apple barrel acrylic paint to the model. Once I have the horns painted, it is time to make them look grungy and grimy. I'm going to use a light brown in order to add some dimension to these horns. I will do that by having my brush slightly wet when I apply the paint, so that the paint is slightly thinned. And then I will dab on just a tiny bit of paint once I have dabbed that on, I will do the exact same thing with some black. Just like that. Just do it just like that to both sides. And then I like to take a small piece of paper towel. Sometimes I will dampen it and then use that to blot the colors so that they blend together, which will provide a more dull finish to the hoofs, or to the horns rather, like so. And finally, it is time to paint my favorite part of the terror dog, which is its glowing eyes. And since we cannot make the eyes actually glow, I'm just going to paint them. Once again, I'm using a very small brush. You have to be very careful. Make sure that you only paint the eyeball. Be very still. Go slow. Stay fit. Keep sharp. Make good decisions. That's what I heard anyway. Just go nice and slow. Don't get in a rush. This is a very tiny area, and you don't want to have to go back and repaint your face. Now, the final step in the painting process is to create sort of a wet look, because the terror dog in the movie appeared to be sort of wet and slimy looking. So in order to do that, I'm using a very light layer of Rust-Oleum crystal clear enamel. I'm also using another pizza box because I like using pizza boxes for things. You don't want to apply the spray too thick or it will run, and you don't want it to run. Now, we have finished painting the terror dog. And there you have it. Give yourself a pat on the back because you've just finished painting your very own Ghostbusters 3D printed terror dog. Thanks for watching. It's Mellow Time.